Explorer G. Kincaid went on a dangerous trip through the Grand Canyon and down the Colorado River in 1909. Kincaid wanted to find gold, silver, and copper in the area before it was closed off for good. In 1908, Teddy Roosevelt sought to prohibit mining and logging in the Grand Canyon. Kincaid was exploring the canyon about 40 miles upstream from the El Tovar Crystal Canyon. About 2,000 feet above him, he saw some interesting marks in the gravel formation. He anchored his boat and got off to find out what was going on. Kincaid set out on a short hike, despite the lack of a clear path, and stumbled upon an intriguing sight hidden in the desert brush. A high shelf was reached by a set of rock steps cut into the side of the canyon. Kincaid climbed the stairs until he reached the entrance to a man-made cavern. With his flashlight, Kincaid went into the cavern and turned on the lights to see writing on the walls. But to his surprise, the writings were not in English or any Native American language. Instead, they were written in hieroglyphics, which are from Old Egypt. As Kincaid looked off into the distance, he saw that the tube was much longer than he had thought. He had no idea that his amazing discovery would lead to his disappearance, as if he had left no trail and would never be seen or heard from again. The Grand Canyon is famous for its stunning beauty and mysterious appeal. Its seemingly endless depths and vastness leave people in awe. This amazing natural wonder has served as a sacred spot for Native American tribes for centuries, serving as a spiritual guide and a reminder of their rich cultural history. 11 different Native groups, such as the Havasupai, Hopi, Paiute, Navajo, and Zuni people, have lived in or explored the Grand Canyon region for a long time. They see it not only as a beautiful national park, but also as an important part of their creation tales and religious beliefs. The Havasupai have lived peacefully with the canyon for hundreds of years. They see it as a doorway to both paradise and hell, which shapes their own view of heaven and hell. The Havasupai believe that the souls of the dead travel through the canyon to get to their final home. As a result, the Grand Canyon has a lot of spiritual significance, serving as a place where the past and the present collide and where the physical and metaphysical worlds meet. The canyon's geological features and breathtaking views are more than just a show for these groups. They are an important part of their beliefs, customs, and sense of who they are as a culture. This natural wonder did not happen quickly, though. It is the result of erosion and geological action over millions of years. According to Hopi legend, the first people, who were lizard people, were born in this beautiful canyon. These people who changed into reptiles came out of the Grand Canyon and turned into people. If they were going to start their trip somewhere, I think it had to be in a place as interesting as this. When Kincaid realized that the cave went deeper than he thought it would, he moved carefully forward into the darkness. He carefully wrote down thorough observations about everything he saw. As he went deeper, the main tunnel, which was about 12 feet wide, got smaller and smaller until it was only 9 feet wide. About 57 feet from the entrance, the first branching passages to the right and left showed. Along these passages, many rooms of different sizes that looked like modern sitting rooms were found. Some of them were as big as 30 by 40 feet. The doors to these rooms were oval, and there were round air holes in the walls to help with airflow. The passages were cut or carved with skill in straight lines, which shows that they were set up on purpose. G. Kincaid realized that he had stumbled across a huge complex. He thought that as many as 50,000 people could have lived in this secret city. As he looked around more, he found granaries with rows of glazed crockery, some of which still had seeds in them. Ancient artifacts were found all over the rooms, as well as places to cook and a large eating hall. Kincaid carefully wrapped up a few small pieces of metal and clay to look at later. He found an industrial area in one room that was very big, which seemed out of place for the region. We found many different kinds of copper tools here. Chemists have sought to harden this metal for centuries, but they have been unsuccessful. These people definitely knew how to do it. Kincaid understood that he would need help if he wanted to look at every part of this underground city. Kincaid sent some of the artifacts he found in his thorough notes to the Smithsonian. He also asked for financial and organizational support, acknowledging the significance of his archaeological discovery as one of the most important discoveries to date. After a few weeks, the Smithsonian finally decided to help. In order to begin the excavation and exploration of the old underground city, Professor Tessa Jordan came with a group of about 40 scientists, researchers, and workers. With more light and more people, the experts quickly noticed that the layout of the cave system was not random, but carefully planned and symmetrical. All of the tunnels led to the same center room. In the middle of this room was a grand figure. The cross hall is several hundred feet long and is more than 100 feet from the entrance. It is where the idol or picture of the people's god is found, sitting cross-legged with a lotus flower or lily in each hand. The shape of the face is Asian, and the carvings in the cavern almost look like they were made by Buddha, but scientists aren't sure what religion they represent. Taking everything that has been found so far into account, it is possible that this religion is most like that of the old people of Tibet. As a result, Kincaid's team gave the complex the name the Citadel, in recognition of the significance of the discovery. The crypt was one of the bigger rooms that were found. The walls were tilted at about a 35-degree angle, and rows of mummies stood on separate shelves. At the head of each body was a small bench, along with pieces of broken swords and copper cups. Some mummies had clay on them and were wrapped in bark cloth. So far, all of the mummies that have been studied were men, which suggests that this area may have been a place where fighters lived. Kincaid, Jordan, and the Smithsonian team were overcome by the abundance of evidence that showed this wasn't just a remote temple where a few monks lived, but a large city where thousands of men, women, and children had lived for centuries, if not millennia. The most important question that had no clear answer was who these old people were. Researchers agreed on two things. First, the society that built the citadel was much more advanced than the native tribes that had lived in the region for thousands of years. They were good at working with copper, even though they lived before the Copper Age. At a time when other groups were thought to be hunter-gatherers, they also knew how to divide work and farm. The main ideas in history and anthropology were put to the test by these finds. The second thing that all the researchers agreed on was that this mysterious society did not come from the area. Instead, there is a lot of evidence that they came to the Grand Canyon from far away, either from Egypt or Asia. Kincaid and Professor Jordan took the initiative to send the Smithsonian Institution boxes full of artifacts and detailed notes and drawings about them. Kincaid said that more exploration of the citadel would be easier with more funding and a bigger team. Unfortunately, their desire for more help and funding was turned down. After this move, all messages from G. Kincaid and Professor Jordan stopped, and no one knows where they are now. Is this because they never existed, or because they've seen too much? At the same time, the sky above the region, which is now called Kincaid's Cave, is limited. This makes it illegal and dangerous to travel through the area. Around the pyramid and cave on the ground, official reports from institutions like the Smithsonian have been edited, changed, invalidated, or pulled. Even though these rules are in place, people still go into this part of the canyon. Many people have been arrested, and some have died, while trying to get to the top of these holy places. The problem has gotten worse over the years to the point where the government has to put armed FBI agents at the entrance of the cave. We have had a hard time finding information about this strange traveler when we have looked into this topic. Could this be a sign that he's just a character in a story? On April 5, 1909, a story on the front page of the Arizona Gazette was the first time anyone saw the names G. E. Kincaid and Professor Jordan. Archaeologists from the Smithsonian Institution were said to have found evidence of a very advanced culture in the Grand Canyon. Artifacts of any kind have never been found in North or South America, according to Smithsonian Magazine, and there are no records proving the existence of either Kincaid or Jordan. I can tell you that the Smithsonian has never done anything like this in the Grand Canyon or anywhere else. Aside from the stories in the Arizona Gazette, there is no other evidence or talk about these people. Strangely, none of their family, friends, or co-workers can confirm their existence. A story from the Lewiston Evening Teller on September 22, 1908, about a project called the States Excursion Project that involved people named G. E. Kincaid and G. Jordan suggests that Kincaid and Jordan may be connected. The names are close, but the letters are not the same. It's likely that this older newspaper story gave the Arizona Gazette the idea for the names Kincaid and Jordan. Kincaid and the narrative of his discovery of the Grand Canyon are the subject of two dominant theories. The first idea is that the story is a complex and well-thought-out hoax that was put together by two eager travelers and a local newspaper. But this fake idea doesn't have a lot of historical support. Newspapers' main goal is to tell people what's going on, not to make things sound exciting, as they often do now. If the writer had made up the whole thing with his lively imagination, wouldn't he have sought out a national news outlet to spread the story if he wanted to get more attention for himself? Promotion of the narrative seems to have received little attention. The second idea is that the Smithsonian and other powerful organizations are trying to hide the truth. This idea says that these institutions have a reason to hide any evidence that challenges the way people usually think about history, especially a discovery of this size. When thinking about how institutions like the Smithsonian get their money, It begs the question, besides tax dollars, who else might be giving them money? Do you think that Kincaid existed and that strong groups shut him up? Leave a message, and don't forget to click the button that says subscribe. Until the next